It's also set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, right? I'm quite sure. If you have no knowledge about it, then that's fine, because I had no knowledge of that world going into Baldur's Gate 3. And does it deserve Game of the Year? Does it deserve all the awards? Honestly, if you look at the awards it's won, I think you should just be like, yeah, it fucking does deserve Game of the Year, because it's amazing. Whether it's your thing or not, you need to admit that there's talent behind this, there's love behind it, there's just brilliance. So if anything in this video has intrigued you to play this game, then go play it, because I'm doing a fucking terrible job at actually summing up the game.
I do hope it goes well. We've pissed off enough gods already.
And hello there, troops. We're, well, back at it, but with something a little different today. But you're watching Ace of Space Gaming with your host for the day and the weekend, myself, Thumbs. Now, troops, as I mentioned in last week's Starfield video, that I'd be doing something a little different, and instead of doing like a kind of Ace of Space highlight video where they don't really do that well, if I'm being completely honest, I decided to just make a video on what my highlight of the year was, and that is obviously Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm essentially doing a Baldur's Gate 3, I was gonna say highlight, but it's basically just a video of me fangirling about the game with a couple of complaints thrown in the middle. So if you're wanting a game that's about Baldur's Gate 3 and how much it's great and just how awesome it is, then this is the video for you. But also, if you have a highlight of my channel and Thumbs being an idiot throughout the year, then feel free to come and let me know what your highlight is, or just what your highlight of the year outside of my channel is in general. Come and let me know. And since we're here, I hope you have a nice holiday season and a happy new year. I'll say it properly at the end of the video, hopefully. But I do. I hope 2024 is a lot nicer than 2023 was. I know it's not a happy time for a lot of people, like, at all, so I guess look after yourselves, right? As much as you can. It's a tough world out there. So, with that said, I'm going to try and get into this review / highlight video. So, I'm going to kind of briefly go over the story-ish, try and not leave out vital parts of the story. And then I'm gonna kind of maybe go over some of the weirder things, some of my favourite things, also things that I think could be improved upon the game, and just things where it could be better. I mean, that's a short list, but there's a list nonetheless. So, troops, Baldur's Gate 3, right? No, I'm joking. It's a point-and-click RPG that has turn-based combat, and before playing Baldur's Gate 3, I would like to mention that I have had no experience with the previous Baldur's Gate games. Like, I didn't... point-and-click games weren't really my forte before playing this game. Like, that's the reason I didn't buy it as soon as it came out was because, well, I thought I would never have been able to get used to that style of combat, because I was a console gamer, so it seemed out of the realms of my skills as a gamer. But honestly, like, it's a learning curve. I'm still making mistakes, but like, it's kind of, once you get into it, once you play it for a while, it gets a lot better to play. It isn't that hard to grasp. Like, you get used to it, essentially. It's also set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, right? I'm quite sure. Which I also have no experience with, so if you're worried about playing this game, if you're like me and haven't watched the D&D movie, or haven't played D&D, or if you have no knowledge about it, then that's fine, because I had no knowledge of that world going into Baldur's Gate 3, and it really didn't make a difference. Well, it might have, I guess, if you know about the species and the characters and all that. It would maybe make a difference. But it didn't for me. It didn't make me enjoy it any less. And there's lots of things for you to choose from. You've got 11 races with 12 different classes, as well as like subclasses in those classes. So there's like a lot from you to choose from. And if you don't want to create your own character, then you can choose out of the 7 origin characters, which are basically the companions you pick up along the way. You can play as them throughout the story, and there's just so many options before you even dive into the game for who you want to play as, or like what kind of person you want to be going into this game. Did I say it was made by Larian Studios? I can't remember. No, I'm going to try my best to briefly sum up the game. It's going to be terrible. I also feel like I should mention that one, I have COVID, so that's why I sound ill as fuck. My head has been thoroughly up my butt, so that's why this review is probably going to be all over the place, so I apologise now. I would also heavily suggest, if you haven't played this game, or I guess if you don't want anything spoiled for you, then do not watch past this point, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers. It's a review of the game, and I've completed it at least 3 times. Nope, I've completed it twice. We'll get into that a bit more later in the video though. But essentially, heavy spoilers ahead, so if you don't want the game spoiled, then turn back now. So, basic premise of the game. At the start, you get a tadpole shoved into your eyeball. And let me tell you, the first time I saw that, it was disgusting. And like, it's lined up perfectly so that it looks disgusting. It's really well done, but it looks disgusting. So, essentially, you go through this game trying to get the tadpole out of your head. And you meet a lot of people along the way who claim they can get this tadpole out of your head, including people like Volo Gadamp. I don't even know his name, but he was in previous Baldur's Gate games. No idea who he is, but he's annoying. But he also cannot remove your tadpole. He can just remove your eye. There's Auntie Ethel, who isn't exactly your auntie, but also cannot remove the tadpole. She just also takes your fucking eye.
A touch, but sure you've 2 eyes in your skull, don't you? No need to be precious.
There's Raphael, the devil, who claims to be able to take your tadpole away, cannot take your tadpole away. Let's just say there's a few people that claim to do that, but can't help. So, there's also, along with this tadpole, there's a cult called the Absolute. Or they worship the Absolute. I think they call themselves the Absolute too. And like, there's a few people in this cult, in the goblin camp, let's say for example, that have tadpoles, and so not everyone in the cult has a tadpole, but most people, but the leaders have tadpoles, and they're called true souls. And it's when you get to Moonrise, there's a good few things you can read that tells you about how this cult managed to infiltrate so many different like species and types of people. Like, it tells you how they managed to get the trolls involved, how they got the gnolls involved. It even tells you how they managed to get the drow involved. But then if you recruit Minthara, then she tells you that herself. But let's just say it's really interesting how this cult managed to spread so wide so quickly. There's also the case of the Prism, which is kind of like crucial to this whole journey. And the guardian that you have to create after you create your own character. You have to create this person who they title as your guardian, but like the reveals of this person throughout the game they just blow you away each time there's a reveal. Well, they blew me away. So you have this guardian, and they have been protecting you through this prism essentially since the start of the game. And heavy spoiler alert already, but you find out that this the guardian isn't actually a guardian. So it's kind of annoying that they make you create this character, but it's understandable why, because it turns out they're actually a mind flayer. Now, when you find out they were a mind flayer, I thought they got turned into one, because they say that they're just like you and they want cured. So I thought that their tadpole thingied the order for them to turn into a mind flayer. Did I mention that the tadpole in your head turns you into a mind flayer? Because it turns you into a mind flayer. That's how they reproduce. By tadpoles. I apologise. So I thought your guardian got turned into one, but it turns out that no, they were deceiving you the whole time, and they were a mind flayer the whole time. So they had to get you to create that person so that, because the mind flayer, or the emperor, didn't believe that you would help them from the start, so they basically disguised themselves as someone that wasn't a mind flayer. There's a whole other, the emperor isn't just the emperor, but we'll get into that in a good 10-15 minutes. So yeah, there's a cult. You need to get the tadpoles out your head. There's also the Dead Three, who kind of get introduced in Act 2 at the end of Act 2, but 2 of them come into it more in Act 3. And they are the chosen of Bal, Merkel, and Bane. And we'll get into their plot in a wee bit, but let's just say the Dead Three are important. And let's not forget that I think I've essentially like covered the basis of the Absolute. I hope so. We'll go into it more, right? If I haven't. But like, there's also, at the start of the game, as I said, you can go 7 of the origin characters at the start, create your own character. I don't know if the Dark Urge is included in the origin characters, but there's the Dark Urge playthrough as well, which is essentially an evil playthrough, but you can also resist your Dark Urge or completely embrace it, and I have yet to embrace it. But like, the Dark Urge playthrough also adds like so much more to the game, but also takes away from the game if you embrace your urge. But I think if you play the Dark Urge playthrough, it kind of makes a bit more sense, because it really does tie you in with the story of the Absolute a lot more than it does if you're just a TAV adventurer, a TAV player, which is short for Tadpole Adventurer, right? I don't know. But come and let me know what your thoughts are on the whole TAV versus Dodge. Like, do you think any of them should be made canon, or do you think it should just be like left up to interpretation? I'm not saying they should make one canon. I don't really care. I just really like the Dodge playthrough. I'm not gonna like, well, as I said, it's a spoiler zone, so if you don't want to hear about the Dodge playthrough, then I apologise, but don't watch. So like, essentially, I mentioned the Dead Three, and there's the chosen of Bal, who is Orin the Red, okay? So like, when you're playing as the Dark Urge playthrough, you advance through the game, and there's some horrible things that you do. I remember playing it for the first time, and I had to kill Alfira, and I felt so bad, because Alfira is precious, and she's cute, and she's a bard, and she's great, and I loved Alfira, but you kill her, like, brutally, if you play a Dark Urge. Well, I guess, actually, I'm sure you can save her, but I haven't done that yet. And like, you can choose, as I said, you can resist it or not, and you got this like butler guy called Skeleritus Fell, who kind of wants you to embrace Bal, your father, so to speak. And as you continue throughout the game, you learn that Orin is your blood kin, because Bal is your father, right? So these aren't technically siblings, it's just a whole weird religious thing, right? But when you go talk to Gortash, the arsehole that is, I mean, again, really well written character, but he's an arsehole for what he'd done to Karlach. And when you talk to him, he's like, oh, happy to see you, as if he knows you. And it turns out, troops, that if you play the Dark Urge playthrough, that you, the Dark Urge, were supposed to be in place of Orin in the Dead Three's plan. So, like, apparently, I think Gortash says it was essentially, like, your idea, or you helped come up with the idea to go steal the stones in Hell, right? Or the gems that can control the Nether Brain, by the way. Because the Absolute is actually a giant brain. I think a Nether Brain? No, what's it called? An Elder Brain, that's what it's called. So, like, there's a crown of Karsus that is on the Elder Brain, and these gems control that crown. And the Absolute, or the voice of the Absolute, is actually just this brain. So the Dead Three, or the chosen of the Dead Three, Orin, Gortash, and Ketheric is the other one, or you in place of Orin at that point, you came up with a plan to rule the Elder Brain to then infect everyone with tadpoles so that you could have basically an army of thralls. But they won't turn because, well, you're in charge of the Elder Brain, right? No. No, but essentially, the Dark Urge, like, you helped come up with that plan. You went to go steal the crown of Karsus. But I just think that's really cool. That, like, you can play as, like, the tadpole adventurer, and it's just, like, you're this wee thing, trying to cure the world of tadpoles. But if you play the Dirge, then you learn that you're, like, one of the reasons that everybody's getting infected by tadpoles. I mean, the mind flayers would probably be a-holes anyway, right? But you did not help when you decided to go steal the crown of Karsus with Gotash. Now, I might be getting some of this wrong, but I'm kind of just, at this point, I'm just going from what I've gathered. There could be more to it. There probably is, so I apologise. But as I said, you can, obviously, like, you don't need to embrace your Dark Arch. You can reject Baal. And even rejecting Baal is incredibly interesting because, like, honestly, it's just great. I highly suggest doing a dodge playthrough. And also, if you go Dark Arch, then Jaheira will basically clock you for being a Baal spawn because she worked with him before. I don't know. Jaheira was also in Baldur's Gate 2. I don't know if in 1, but I think she was, I don't know, she was in previous Baldur's Gate games, so she knows all about Baal babies. And Baal spawn. I keep saying that because does a Starian not call you a Baal babe at some point? So, I've kind of like gave you the premise of the game, right? Without too many heavy spoilers. So I'm kind of just going to go over the highlights, or my highlights and favourite parts and weird parts, followed by some things that could use improving after. So, on to some highlights, shall we? I wouldn't really, like, I don't know, I wouldn't really say I have a highlighted specific one, but in this game, you can talk to animals. Like, pretty much nearly every animal you come across, you can talk to. Even the pigeons. And I'll tell you, that pigeon that's in the carrier pigeon place, like, he's a tough cookie. Like, he's a commander, a sergeant or something, like, I don't know. And he takes his job very seriously as being a courier pigeon. And it's so good. Like, I love talking to things and the creatures in this game. Like, there's a squirrel that attacks your shoes if it hates your shoes. There's lots of cats that have lots of opinions about the things you do. There's dogs you can talk to and pat. You can even talk to a giant owlbear. You can even recruit an owlbear cub if you save it from the goblins. You can talk to the wee birds. Like, I love the fact you can talk to animals in this game. You can also talk to the dead, and honestly, I don't do it enough because, like, sometimes there's really cool, interesting information that can help you in quests that you can only get from the dead. And there's, like, sometimes you might have to disguise yourself to talk to someone you've killed, because obviously you killed them, so if you try and resurrect them to talk to them, they're not gonna want to have a chat with you. So you can disguise yourself and then talk to the dead then. There's so many ways to get around things in the game, and it's really cool. And apparently you can even, like, you can resurrect the dead and all that as well, but, like, there's a certain druid class you can go where you can raise the dead with spores. So I don't know, would you turn them into, like, the Myconid things down in the Underdark? Because that's just awesome. I would also like to give a little shout out to the Myconids in the Underdark, because I absolutely love the Myconids, and I love the fact that you've got the option to go with, is it Spaw or Glut? Like, Glut will ask you to betray Spaw, but Spaw is like the leader, and you can betray them, or you can kill Glut. It's just, there's so many options in this game and paths for you to go down. And I always defend Spaw because he calls me kin spirit, because I always help him and bring him true Solnir's head. There's also, there's a group of fish people in the Underdark that, like, I didn't notice until, like, my third playthrough in, because they're, like, around this wee nook and cranny that you can, there's, like, a wee bit you can go down, and it's just, there's these fish people worshipping something, and they're called the Kuatoa? I can't remember how you pronounce that, to be honest. But it's like, they think they're worshipping Baal, but they're saying Boal, and it's just great because it's just this wee angry red cap, and, like, they're a bloodthirsty fey creature, but, like, I just love that, like, they think they're worshipping the all-powerful Baal, and it's a red cap. So you can essentially, well, you can kill them all, or you can make the Kuatoa see sense, and that they're not actually worshipping Baal, and you can get them to worship you, and they can call you the Great McClumpa. And I just think that's great. And your companions then slag you for being called McClumpa. It's so good. I love the interactions between you and your companions and kind of everything in between. I do really love the banter of the game, and I love that you grow close to your companions, or you can kill all of your companions if you want. As I said, options. They can kill each other. You can kill them. The other day, I actually let Lae'zel kill me. Because like there's a scene where like you're about to turn into the mind flayer, but Lae'zel notices and she like basically tries to kill you. So I decided to just let it happen because I was like, does she actually kill you? But of course she does. And then the rest of your camp decides to fight her. So and for some weird reason Astarion backed her up. But whatever. I forget what I was fucking saying. I really did forget what I was saying. Oh yeah, I was talking about McClumpa. So again, just is mad. There's a lot of strange things you can kill. There's also like a giant robot that you can kill in the Adamantine Forge to get a kind of really shit weapon. Or at least, I don't know, maybe I've not done it right. The armor's really good that you can get. Oh no, I'm thinking of the Susar Bark weapon that's shit. The Adamantine stuff is alright for a time. But the armor is really good that you can make from the Adamantine Forge. But you have to fight this giant, like 200-foot tall robot just to just to get that armor or weapon. And it's a tough battle. Like, the game and the combat style really... It doesn't force you to be strategic, but it really helps if you're strategic. Like, if you're good at planning that stuff out, it really helps. Because kind of gone into wing it doesn't always help with that kind of game. There's like in Act 1, 3 acts. I think I forgot to mention there's 3 acts to the game. And in Act 1 there's a goblin camp with 3 goblin leaders, Ragzlin, Priestess Gut, and the mighty Night Warden Minthara, who is also a recruitable companion and my absolute favourite of all time. But like there's lots of different ways for you to deal with all 3 of them. You can get poisoned by Gut or by the priestess and sent to sleep, and then imprisoned, where I think she wants to watch you transform, essentially. And then you can either save yourself, or you can be saved by Corella, who is essentially Raphael's lackey and is constantly watching you, apparently. But also, if you play as a drow character, then sleep poisons or a lot of poisons don't work on you because of drow culture, and they have a whole thing with poisons. But the sleeping potion that the priestess tries to give you doesn't work, so she gets angry and tries to kill you. It's a whole thing. There's Ragzlin, who is a hobgoblin, by the way, and honestly, I really wish we got to play as a hobgoblin without modding the game, because I love the hobgoblins. They're such a cool design for a character. So, and I Blurg, he's a good hobgoblin, but I wish there was more good hobgoblins in the game. I wish we got a companion as one, because I just love them. But there's Ragzlin, and he's trying to talk to a deed mind flayer, and like, you can help him interrogate this deed mind flayer. And it can recognise you, and then he can be like, what the fuck are you lying to us? And he gets aggro, and there's a lot of ways for you to deal with it. You can attack them from above, you can, sneak attack them, shut the doors, so that no one else can get in. That's how I usually try and deal with it. And then there's a good few ways for you to deal with Minthara, and they've also added in now that you can recruit her whilst also wiping out the tieflings. Without wiping out the tieflings. So there's a grove of druids and tieflings. And in Act 1, essentially the choice is, do you wipe them out or do you save their lives? And it's like, if you wipe them out, then you're essentially siding with the Absolute and Minthara. Or obviously you can wipe out the goblins and save the druids and the tieflings. But like, there's a few ways you can even deal with that. Like, you can kill Minthara at the camp. Like at the goblin camp, where she stands, mightily so, giving out orders. You can kick her down the canyon, you can just kill her outright. Or you can knock her out now. There's a couple of steps in between that, but you can knock her out and you'll see her later in the game at Moonrise. Or you can take her to the grove and you can kill her there. Or you can take her to the grove and betray the grove and the druids and tieflings, which honestly, in my opinion, is a much more satisfying playthrough. Like, I absolutely hate killing the tieflings because, you know, Zevlor and Lucressa And the Waynes, like Maul and Damon, let's not forget Damon. Let's just say there's a lot of good tieflings on that side, and I kind of hate killing them, but at the same time, it makes for a really interesting story. Like, it's a game, you know? It doesn't mean I'm a bad person just because I kill some tieflings. It's a video game, folks. So yeah, there's lots of ways to deal with that. And there's also, in the goblin camp, like Minthara has 2 spiders that are also locked up because she was a follower of Lolth.
Ah, there's a shrine to Lolth in the corner there. Excuse me while I spit on it.
Who is that's the worst religion in the game, by the way, a worshipper of spiders. I mean, granted, they have no need for males in that religion, so it's pretty awesome in that regard, but like, it also worships spiders, so I'm not here for it. But Minthara has 2 spiders that are caged up in the goblin camp. And if you decide to kill the goblins in the goblin camp, you can essentially talk to the spiders and get them to fight for you instead. So, again, options. And that's just a couple of ways on how to deal with the goblin camp. Like, there's a whole... someone done a video on, like, how many outcomes there are, or how many different ways there are of dealing with the goblin camp in Act 1, and it's really interesting because it's so true. Anyway, I feel like I want to mention some of the stranger things in the game. Like how there's a lot of things revolve around spiders apparently, but there's in the Gauntlet of Shar there's a spider that you can lick, right? And it turns out that the spider itself has been like charmed. So like when you lick that spider, it turns your character on. And it's just so fucking funny. And then you go back from there, but it also hurts you. And then your companions can be like, why the fuck did you do that? Why, like, Shadowheart can be like, did you expect anything different to happen there?
Honestly, what did you think was going to happen? You develop a taste for it?
And it's just, apparently Gale just outright shouts at you to stop. I don't know, but it's fucked up. But the even more fucked up part about that charmed spider, at that point, there's a displacer beast, and then there's also the Orthon Yurgir, where, like, you need to kill Yurgir, or you don't need to kill him for Raphael, whatever. There's lots of different ways for you to deal with that as well. But there's a point where you can tell Yurgir that you'll look for something, and then you can go talk to the displacer beast that goes next to the deed spider that you lick and get turned on by. But it turns out that Yurgir actually like charmed that spider meat for the displacer beast to essentially fall in love with him. Or at least that's what I grasped from that. And it's so fucked up. Like, I liked Yurgir. He's a cool character, and like you can convince him to kill himself and his whole party. But then when you get to the House of Hope, you can also convince him to help you fight Raphael, even if you'd convinced him to kill himself. Like, it is mad, the options you have in this game. And it's also mad that he charmed a deed spider, to make a displacer beast fall in love with him. There's also, you can do it with the Emperor, so you can have like weird squid sex, and also to top it off, you can get caught by your companions, and it's fucking hilarious. I'm one of the players that what's it called? Save scumming? I don't know, but like I'm the kind of gamer that will load a game just to test out lots of different options, because you know I'm curious as fuck. Because I was like, what the fuck would that even look like? And it was weird. It was all strange. There's also, you can apparently, well, Halsin, whatever, he can shapeshift, so can Jaheira, but he can change into a bear, and you can apparently fuck that bear. I've never done it. I vaguely watched it before doing this video, and it's fucked up. And that's just like some of the weird stuff you can do. There's also like a whole family of Thorms. Like you've got Ketheric Thorm, who is the chosen of Myrkul, and he has like a whole family. He's got Isabel, the daughter. Balthasar resurrected her because she and the wife died. Ketheric went crazy. Now Isabel's alive. Mother is still dead, but Ketheric is still crazy. But in the Shadow-Cursed lands, there's other Thorms, and well, I don't even know if you can call them human anymore, but there's Malice Thorm, who is a surgeon. Horrible to look at. Well, they all have really cool designs, let's not forget about that. Everything in this game is just stunning. But then you've got Thizbald Thorm, who is, I don't know if you want to call him a bartender. But let's just say he's this big guy that loves a drink, but apparently he's actually been drinking his own stomach fluids, which means my character also drank his stomach fluids. I don't know, but there's another Thorm who's called Jerin. How do you pronounce that? Jeringoth Thorm? Geringoth? It's probably nowhere near how you actually pronounce that, but essentially she is made of money and absolutely loves money. But all of them are bad guys. Do you know what you don't need to do though? You do not need to fight them. Well, you can completely patch them, I guess, and like walk by them. But the money lady, you can essentially tell her that you're taking over her job and that there's no need for a toll collector anymore, and like she just kills herself. Malice Thorm, you can essentially, I think you can get him to either operate on the weird Sharon nurses that are working around him, by the way, which are great designs, but they're creepy as all hell. I think you can get him to do surgery on them, or you can go the complete opposite way around, and you can get all of them to kill him. And boy, is it brutal. I remember doing that for the first time, and it's amazing. Like, it is so crazy that you can just get all of them to just kill him. And then you've got Thizzbald, who, honestly, I kind of feel a bit bad for. Because, like, I don't know, I think he got cursed by Ketheric. Well, they're all cursed by the land, but, like, I don't know, I kind of just feel bad for him. But you don't need to fight him either. You can, like, well, you need to have a lot of... Did I mention you have to roll dice in this game? Well, it's like D&D, so I just assumed. You might have assumed. But, like, you have to roll a good couple of saves to survive either drinking the drink or lying about drinking the drink. But he overdrinks himself and he explodes. Well, actually, he didn't explode the first time. The animation was, like, kind of pathetic and it just went poop. But no, I think he does explode, and like I kind of preferred it when he just went poop. But there's like, you don't even need to kill them, is the point I'm getting at here, is that there's so many options that you can talk people to death. You don't need to necessarily go in knives blazing, you know? And also I just kind of love the whole Shadow Cursed Lands thing. The Thorms are mental. There's just so much to do. You can throw people, you can throw things. I even made Minthara throw Kyoth the Raven once, and it was really sad. The Raven died and I felt bad. I don't know what I thought would have came from that, but let's just say Kyoth died. And I want to have a couple of special shout-outs to the actors of, well, all of the characters. But I feel like women that you don't see getting, like, a lot of people are getting credit, but like there's, in my opinion, 2 women who, well, other than Amelia Tyler, because like she doesn't count, she's a god among narrators, you know. Like, you don't even need to put her on a pedestal because she's on the biggest pedestal.
She robbed you of your bloody birthright, reduced you to nothing. Nothing but pure hate.
But I would like to give a shout out to the actors of Daemelin and Minthara, obviously. So that would be Emma Gregory and Helen Keeley? I don't know, like, as I said, everyone is absolutely amazing, but that doesn't mean, like, because I'd also like to give a shout out to Samantha Béart, and I'm sorry if that's not how I pronounce your name, and Devora Wilde as well, because I love their performances so much that I got signatures from them. But Emma Gregory and Helen Keeley, I feel, don't get as much love as... Or Maggie Robertson, by the way. Let's not forget about her. That's the other one I wanted to mention, is for Orin the Red. Like, all of those people, everybody in the game put an amazing job. But I think maybe even more specifically, Daemelin and Orin the Reds, I know everybody put in a lot, but I just, like, their performances is amazing. Like, Orin the Red, when you tell her that her granddad is her dad, spoiler alert by the way, and that she basically got betrayed by him, is fucking spectacular.
No, not him. Not him! I did all this for him! Everything! Everything!
I've never done it myself, but when you there's an option for you to kill Isabel. I don't know if you can do it in front of Daemelin, but like there's an option for you to kill her, and like the rant that Aelin goes on that she's gonna kill you and your whole family is fucking amazing. And like, just when she kills Ketheric, it's gorgeous. And speaking of Ketheric, there's also, for a second gonna go on about Dame Aelin, because like, she was locked up for 100 years, and she and Isabel are an item, by the way, and they two are possibly the cutest thing about Baldur's Gate 3. Like, honestly, just the two of them, the first time, as I said, Aelin was locked away for 100 years, getting tortured, constantly killed, and through that whole time, Isabel thought she was dead, and Aelin thought Isabel was dead. So when they reunite for the first time, it is precious. Dame Aelin, a literal child of a god, by the way. She's immortal, and she's Seluna's daughter. Like, she's a demigod, and Aasimar is what she is. And she gets on her knees for Isabel. Like, honestly, she worships that woman, and it is precious.
My love, you are dead. I saw your body.
And it is one of my favourite things about Baldur's Gate 3. And I don't know how you just can't love it. And Orin's "rip and cut your throat, sir" speech is just, everything about it is amazing. And then let's not forget Minthara and like her little paranoid face. Like, her acting is amazing. When she's telling you about Orin, it's just, I've never felt so much sympathy for an evil character. And I don't think she's evil, I think she's precious, by the way, but that's up for interpretation too. As I said though, everybody deserves a shout out in this game because everybody done spectacular jobs. And as I said, I got signatures from Devora and Samantha, and honestly, I treasure them with my life because like, there wasn't enough space for me to tell them how much I love their performances, because like, Karlach made me cry because she wanted a hug so much, like, because she's got an engine for a heart. She can't touch people and hasn't been able to for 10 years, and got her own heart ripped out of her chest and betrayed by Gortash because he's a dick. But like, she still sees the good in everything, and there's not one bad thing she has to say about anything other than Gortash. And like, there's the whole graveyard scene that is just, it is heartbreaking when you go to her mum and dad's grave. Heartbreaking. And then like, if you romance her, you have the option to tell her that you love her. And it's so funny because like, her instant reply is like, I love you too!
I love you too!
It is so cute. Karlach is precious, and I would protect her with my whole heart. And then there's Lae'zel, who is like a tough cookie. Not many people liked her at the beginning because she's quite abrasive. She's quite, well, they fucking tamed her with patches. But like, you know, she's not the nicest to begin with. But then like, if you romance her and you get through that stony exterior, you realise that she's actually soft as fuck. Because you make her see colour, you become the source of her joy. And she even stays in Faerun with you, instead of going off to complete her dreams and riding a red dragon and wielding a silver sword. Like, it's nuts. The performances of everyone was amazing, but as my first playthrough, Lae'zel and Karlach were like it for me. Like, so I couldn't put into that small box on Streamily how much I appreciated those performances, because I do. I appreciate everyone else's performance. I would have loved one from Emma Gregory, but again, there would not have been enough words for me to say how much I appreciate Minthara as a character, because she also like once she trusts you, and then like, although it's hard to get that trust, like in my eyes, she's like as loyal as a puppy once you have that loyalty, you know. And like, but if you break that, she will not hesitate to snap your neck, and it's like, I kind of love that in a woman.
Is the little dog trying to intimidate us? If it continues to bark, I will snap its neck.
So yeah, I guess that's my favourite woman of the game. But also, I'd like to, for another second, like, Minthara, when you first meet her, well, she's heavily being brainwashed by the Absolute, because she also has a tadpole, of course. So like, she wants you to kill the tieflings in the grove, but realistically, it's the Absolute that wants that. Although, when you talk to her after, like, the Prism stops the Absolute from taking over you, by the way, or controlling you. Forgot to mention that one. So, like, when she's in your camp and the absolute is no longer taking over her brain, she does tell you that she would rather have, or I'm sure she tells you that she'd rather have killed the tieflings by her own choice instead of letting the absolute do it. But letting the absolute take her was her biggest failure. So it's like the person you meet at the goblin camp isn't who Minthara is. Like, Minthara is a killer, 110%, not a good character, but like, she doesn't like mindless killing. So you get to learn that throughout the game. Like, if you just go random killing spree, she doesn't love that, but she does want to conquer the world with you. And I think that's precious. And I don't know, she's a softer character than you'd think, and she's very intuitive, and she has a lot of really good opinions about all of the companions in the camp. And before I stop talking about Minthara, one of my favourite things about her, or about the companions and Minthara, is Gil. Because when you first recruit Minthara, and if you ask her about wizards, she essentially says that she doesn't befriend wizards because they never live long enough to be worth befriending. So she doesn't see the point in being pals with a wizard because they normally die quite quickly. But when you talk to Gil, who is a wizard, the first time after recruiting her, he essentially says something along the lines of, she's a bit quiet. Maybe all she needs is someone to listen to her. And he's like, I'm sure she'll warm up to me in time. And I just thought that was fucking brilliant. And it's like, nah, man, Minthara hates your guts.
Once she gets to know me, I'm sure she'll open up. She's just waiting for someone ready to listen.
It's like she's never going to warm up to you. But I don't know, I just think it's great that she hates wizards. And then if you're a wizard and you ask her about Gale, and if you ask her, do you not like wizards? She just goes, don't sulk.
Don't sulk.
And I just, honestly... And let's not forget about the beautiful webbing, because Minthara is the funniest character in the game. And I was going to be done talking about Minthara, but I have one more thing. I have actually a lot more things to talk about as far as Minthara goes. I don't know if you could tell that she might be my favourite character. Well, you know what? There's so many good characters in this game that it's hard to pick a favourite, but let's just say Minthara is definitely in the top 3. But I've mentioned at some point that Orin the Red takes one of your camp members away. She like abducts them, you have to go save them. But there is the chance that she can abduct Minthara, and like the way you can find out is that person that has been abducted will show up and they'll like cause a panic. But realistically, it's not that person, it's actually Orin that obviously just looking like that person. So like when it's Minthara's turn and she gets abducted and it's really Orin, I think it's really good work. There's a line that I picked, and it was a while ago that I picked it, but like, and this is like to mention how much Emma Gregory's work was amazing, because I picked an option and it's like, I think I called her out for being paranoid like Minthara. And so you've got to remember, this is Emma Gregory being Minthara, but being Orin the Red pretending to be Minthara. So her response to that, in my opinion, is hilarious, because it's just like Orin pretending that Minthara is like a total paranoid person, and she's just like, oh no, yeah, that's totally like, yeah, this is totally fine for me. I do this all the time. And I am butchering it, but honestly,
I was beholden to a cult dedicated to a false god that controlled me through a parasite in my brain. This latest conspiracy is rather ordinary in comparison.
I thought it was amazing acting, because you've got, as I said, Emma Gregory being Minthara, but pretending to be Orin, pretending to be Minthara. So honestly, the work that woman done was spectacular. As I've said though, everyone's work was amazing, but just that one scene is gold, in my opinion. So anyway, I think I've went on about the woman a bit too much, right? Briefly going over things I don't love about the game, and it's crashes. The day I decided to do this video, I was thinking about it, and on that night, my game crashed. But it didn't just crash, it completely deleted my saves, or like, I couldn't play my saves again. So that fucked up my momentum, and I was nearly finished my Dragonborn playthrough, which is really annoying. A shout out to Ceroth Toovir, because honestly, I miss you. You're my little Dragonborn baby, and you were adorable, and I can't play you anymore because I had mods. So anyway, shout out to Ceroth Toovir. May I one day be able to complete your playthrough. Again, I saw a lot of people on Twitter not complaining, but rightfully so, pointing out that there's not a lot, although the character creation is great, but it is also limited if you're not white, which I get, because, like, obviously I'm white, but that doesn't mean I don't want characters with, like, black or other people of coloured facial features. So as far as, like, the presets go for the faces, they could be more diverse, perhaps. Or just, I don't know, give more options to, like, give sliders for some of the facial features. So, not a major complaint, but, you know, it's there, and I've seen that it can be a major complaint for some people. So, there's also the case of missing content. And as much as I've already went on about Minthara for about 10 minutes, Minthara and Will, and apparently even Shadowheart, a lot of people that aren't Astarion and Halcyon, don't quote me on the Halcyon thing, because honestly, after recruiting Minthara the first time, I haven't went back. So, they're missing content. A lot of content. Like, Will, Astarion has the most content out of everyone, as a romanceable character and as an origin character, right? I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. Neil Newbin is an absolutely fantastic actor. Not denying that. I love most of his work, not just in this game. I just don't think Astarion is that good of a character to deserve that amount of content. Like, he's a vampire. Vampires, in my opinion, are very overdone. So, and apparently was there not supposed to be a werewolf or something in your party, but they didn't want a vampire and a werewolf? I would rather have had the werewolf than the vampire. But again, that's just my opinion. Come and let me know what you think of Astarion or the werewolf thing in the comments below. But Will has very little content as far as a romance goes as well, and like, he's a very vital part to the story. His dad plays a vital part to the story as Elder Ravengard. Like, he's crucial. Like, you go to the Iron Throne for Ravengard, and Will should have had more content. But hopefully they'll be adding more Will and Minthara content, hopefully in the next patch. Not getting my hopes up, but it would be nice. They say they're working on it, but I think both Will and Minthara deserve a lot more love. Minthara has practically zero, and they keep saying they're fixing her, but not once has my playthrough been fixed. So I don't know, it's just they didn't really flesh out the Minthara romance properly, I don't think, or even the Will one, like, or just the Will content in general. And I've heard there's still things missing from the Shadowheart romance, and I think maybe Lae'zel I heard as well. I'm not sure about Halcyon or that, but like, it's annoying that the developers kind of keep focusing on Astarion when, in my opinion, he's well, it's between him, Gale, and Astarion, and Halcyon is my least favourite characters in the game. I am sorry, I know that's going to be a terrible opinion for some, but I just don't like them. It's not that I don't like them. I love their stories. The whole Mystra thing with Gale is very fascinating, but him as a character I don't like. Halcyon, don't like as a character. He was cool and all that, but like, he was always kind of my least favourite. Not that I had anything against him, he was there. And then once I read, the data mined stuff from Twitter, I don't know whose Twitter, I'm sorry, but it's like an option that they're hopefully going to be putting in the game to have a confrontation between Minthara and Halcyon, and it's essentially like Minthara would rather die than be put under the influence of the Absolute again, and Halcyon, and she's like, I have no beef with you. It was the Absolute that made me do it, even though she is still a killer. Halcyon just didn't listen. And I don't know if that's going to be put in the game, but he was more than happy to make her go get brainwashed by the Absolute again, and if that gets put in the game, I'm going to hate him even more. So like, ever since I read that, I've never liked Halcyon. Sorry. He's a great character. Cool character. I love the fact that he can shapeshift, but I just don't, personally, I don't like him. And Astarion, I think, gets too much attention. Like, again, his storyline is absolutely fantastic with the Cazador and how you can break the cycle of abuse with him. But also Ascended's ascended Astarion, if you make Astarion the Vampire Lord, he's a fucking dick. I don't care if anybody likes him, or I don't care if you like him. It's all about opinions, but I'm sorry, Ascended Astarion is an absolute arsehole. I done it once, and I will never do it again, because he thinks he's the greatest gift to the world, and he's really not. Minthara, she thinks she's a god's gift to people and everyone about, and she is. She would be right to think so. I was gonna say I'm joking, but I'm not joking. That is just my opinion though. Come and let me know who your favourite character is. You don't need to shit on me for my opinions, by the way. They are just opinions. I don't hate the characters I'm saying I dislike. It's just they're not my favourites. I just think there's a lot better out there. And there is. There's also, in Act 3, I feel, well actually not just Act 3, but there's a lot, sometimes, no, it's kind of in Act 3, well, in the Elf Song Tavern, the lighting can be a bit bad. I don't know. There can be lighting issues sometimes in caves or inside, which I get, you know, they're dark to begin with, but like sometimes I can barely see characters. Also, a major thing that I feel like doesn't make sense, kind of my last complaint, and major complaint, because as I said, I don't really have major complaints other than the fact that I lost my saves. But like, throughout the game, you're told that there's consequences to you taking these tadpoles, absorbing more, using the powers. You're told there's a consequence. And I just, like, at the end of the game, to kill the Netherbrain, you need a mind flayer there, one way or another. So you can turn into a proper mind flayer by the end of the game. But, like, it's not a necessity. There's ways out of that so that you don't need to become a mind flayer. So at the end, if you don't become a mind flayer, if you leave it up to any of the other mind flayers to help kill the Netherbrain, there's no consequence for you using the tadpoles. Like, I evolved, you can evolve kind of like halfway. No, it's gone into the third act of the game. You can take an astral tadpole and it gives you veins all over your face and like gives you more powers. It makes you a lot more powerful, and you can turn into a displacer beast, you can fly. It actually gives you really good powers. And there's also a mod to remove the veins, because the veins are a bit much. But like, you're told throughout the whole game that there's consequences for doing these things, but like by the end of the game, if you just destroy the brain and the tadpoles, there was no consequence. Nothing happened. There was nothing that came from you embracing the tadpoles. And I think it's kind of shit. To put it simply, it's annoying to be told, oh, there's going to be consequences, and there was no consequences, because it makes you think, oh, should I be using it? Should I be using these tadpoles? Like, do I need to watch what I'm doing? Is something going to happen if I get to a companion? It's a whole thing. But from what I've noticed, there was no consequences whatsoever. But again, I guess that's not a major. It's more of a gripe than a flaw of the game. I don't know, maybe a flaw of the game, but it's definitely a gripe I have with the game. There's also, it's not a complaint, but I guess it's just really well written storyline. It's like, see when you enter Act 3 of the game, or when you talk to Gortash, and it's like there's doppelgangers in the game, and Orin the Red can basically look like anybody she wants. And at some point, Gortash tells you that there's a doppelganger in your camp, so you need to root out the evil, right? But can I just tell you, when I was playing my first playthrough, I've heard a lot of people were like this, but I was paranoid the entire time in Act 3. I've learned now that you only get, spoiler alert, there's only like 2 shapeshifters appearances from Orin, I think. Don't quote me, could be wrong. And then there's again, spoiler alert, Orin takes one of your crew. So Gortash is right in saying that she infiltrated your crew, but when you play it for the first time, it added so much paranoia. Like, I became Minthara with that, because like, she's terrified of Orin and it's a sin, and she gets paranoid when she realises that Orin's back in the game. And I became her because I was suspicious of everybody. I was like, Karlach, look me in the fucking eyes. I was like, Gale, you look fucking fishy earlier, buddy. You know, so like, I became so paranoid that somebody was going to betray me. And I didn't like talking to the NPCs because I was like, no, you're going to turn into Orin. So it was really well written, you know, to get the player paranoid, to get them anxious that they're being watched, that they're being bullied. It's really good story writing. But then I have been talking forever, so I guess by this point you should know that there's just really good story writing as a whole for this game, right? There's so much that I wanted to... there's so much that I wanted to say and cover, but there's not enough time in the world for me to go on about my favourite parts of the game. And even when I have flaws about the game, they're not proper flaws, because there's still something I'll love about that flaw. Other than the crashes and save deletes. But that's a whole other thing. But there's so much love and passion and work being put into this game, and I appreciate every single person behind the game. And if I don't like the way someone is, I'll still love the writing behind it or the acting behind it. Honestly, it was hard trying to find things I didn't like about the game, but I did have to be fair. I mean, let's be honest, there is a couple of things, it's annoying that you get to decide Will's fate. There you go, there's another thing. When essentially a Starian, anybody, all of your companions can pick their own fate, but you have to decide Will's fate, whether he sacrifices himself or his dad. Doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, you still love Mizora. So there's a lot. I have maybe unashamedly, I will admit, I've clocked 600 hours in Baldur's Gate 3, and it is spectacular. It's an amazing game. You can feel the love being put behind it. And does it deserve Game of the Year? Does it deserve all the awards? Honestly, if you look at the awards it's won, I think you should just be yeah, it fucking does deserve Game of the Year, because it's amazing. Whether it's your thing or not, you need to admit that there's talent behind this. There's love behind it. There's just brilliance. Honestly, I can't... The people who I'm close to, family and friends, they're probably sick of hearing about this game because I don't shut up about it. There's just so much to say. There's so much love that I have for this game. And so, in case you haven't noticed, a hyperfixation at the minute, so I don't know, it's really fucking hard to keep this short. I apologise for going on for so long about Baldur's Gate, and there's so much that I missed out. There's so much more. So if anything in this video has intrigued you to play this game, then go play it, because I'm doing a fucking terrible job at actually summing up the game. Honestly, don't take my word for it. Go play it. And you might not like the combat, but honestly, you get used to it. It isn't that hard, because I hated the turn-based combat before playing this Baldur's Gate. And I wasn't even a fan of keyboard and mouse gaming. I hated keyboard and mouse gaming, but now I'm fucking WASD, bitch. So I don't know. I'm not telling you to go buy the fucking game, but all I can say is that if you're curious, it's worth it. You don't need to know about D&D, you don't need to know about anything, because I went into this game completely blind. I've never even played the first two games. You don't need a lot of experience. It's great. And, 60 quid? £60, whatever, however much it is. I know it's not coming to Game Pass, but honestly, again, I'm 600 hours in with 4 playthroughs, and not one of them has been the same. I honestly think that's worth your money. But I know not everyone can afford these things. I get that. But if you want to play it, you have the money there, I would do it. It's worth it, 100%. You won't get your life back. I'm kidding. But I highly recommend this game to anyone and everyone. If it's your cup of tea, of course. If it's not, then you don't need to shit on the people that do like it, right? But to sum up, I 100% agree that with it getting Game of the Year, and it deserves it, and congratulations Larian Studio for all the medals you have won, and everybody behind it, and even Neil Newman for winning, was it Best Actor? I can't remember. Amelia Tyler better win the next award. Honestly, Emma Gregory and Helen Keeler, all of them, well, I don't know, they might have been, but they deserve awards fucking right now. So does, you know what, everybody deserves an award. Just give them all an award! Anyway. Because I don't like favouritising, but at the same time I obviously have my favourites, so but that doesn't mean I hate the ones that aren't my favourite. So, I think I'm gonna finally leave this there. There's like so much more I could go on about how you tell the nose to kill the no tamer. How there's a guy that's into extreme BDSM. There's yeah, you heard right. There's all sorts. There's mushroom people. There's a troll and a what are they called? A bugbear down in a barn. There's all sorts of fucking shit in this game, and it's amazing. It's hilarious. It's a bit weird sometimes, but it's worth it. So with that said, I'm gonna shut up because I could keep going. So I'm gonna shush. And with that said, I hope yous have/had. This is gonna take a while to edit. So a happy new year, or a new year, because it's not happy for everybody, right? I hope yous can have a safe and as good a holiday season as you can. I know it's not happy for everyone, but just try and look after yourselves, troops, this time of year, every time of year. And I hope yous have a good one, or as good a one as you can. And I would also like to say I appreciate every single person that watches these videos, takes time to comment. I'm going to try and get better at commenting, or getting back to comments next year. There's a video on that coming next year. There's a lot of plans, so stay tuned for the channel to see what's happening next year. I apologise for being so shitty this year, but we're really trying to get back on track for 2024. So, I thank you, every single person that has took time to watch my videos and comment on them or whatever. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And again, look after yourselves. And if... Again, getting deep at the end of the video, but if you need help, don't feel bad to reach out, or don't feel ashamed to reach out, because we all need a bit of help every now and again. So don't feel ashamed to ask for help. So troops, with that said, I'm gonna let yous go. I'm gonna free yous into the universe, and I'm gonna shut the fuck up. So troops, have a decent holiday season, a good one, as good a one as you can. And I hope 2024 is a lot kinder than 2023 to all of yous. Well, the good ones of yous, not the bad people. No. Nah, but I hope 2024 is a better year than 2023. Fuck 2023, man. Like, get that shit in the bin. Get yous a new year, and hopefully a much kinder one. You can always hope, right? So, until next year, right? I got so many jokes for that. I'm joking. I'm letting yous go. So, until next year. Trips, thank you for listening. I'm sorry for going on for so long. Genuinely sorry, but thank you. So Trips, wherever you are day or night, I hope you're having a good one, and I hope you're staying as safe and as clean as you can. And until the next time in 2024 on Ace of Space Gaming. Thumbs! And, well, Baldur's Gate 3? Question mark? Everybody in it.
Only the greatest game since eggs sprouted legs, mates.